We now have the pen blank with the tube glued into it. The glue is hardened, epoxy glue, and because we hold this by the corners when we drilled the hole, the tube is squarely inserted into the pen blank. It's an accurate way of putting it together. So what I'm going to do now is I have a 20-inch sander, disc sander, and the fence is and the table are everything's squared up. So I'm just going to touch off the ends till I see the brass tube, and then we'll go back to the lathe and we'll finish. And there we'll accurately square up the end of the pen blank. Touched off nice. The other end touched off nice. Nice shiny brass tube. Hardly touched it. So go back to the lathe, take the wax out, and we'll prep it up and continue on. So now what we want to do is we want to true up the blank ends perfectly true. Alright. And we're just going to take the wax out. Now we got the wax out, and I have a little deburring tool. I like to just deburr it a little bit. And how I go about doing this, because it's all about accuracy, is I have a number 2 Morris taper mandrel. It's just a blank, goes in the headstock like that. I have my tailstock with my drill chuck, and I have a transfer punch. Sorry, should have shown you that. Transfer punch. Locate that in there. The transfer punch is close to size, that idea of that pen tube, but as I can get it. And all I do is I bring it up, secure it, turn the lathe on, low speed, about 500. Just bring the blank up, just lightly sand it. And just make sure I want to watch the pen tube, not the blank. There, now the pen tube is nice and shiny and uniform all the way around. That tells me that this face and the transfer punch are perfectly 90 degrees. That means that the face on this is 90 degrees. So all I'll do is turn it around, and I'll do the other end. Looks good. So now we have 2 ends on the pen blank are parallel. Now we can put the bushings in and keep turning. I don't use mandrels anymore. I prefer to turn between centers because it's accurate. Now, one other thing I do before I put this on the lathe and turn it, and this helps especially when you're doing a CA finish. So I take a little bit of paste wax and I apply it to the end of the pen blank. Or ends of the pen blank, I should say. That prevents the blank from sticking to the bushing. So it makes it taking it apart a lot easier. Nice and firm. I can still turn it a little bit, but I don't want to over tighten it either. When I line up my tool rest, I line up my tool rest to the bedways. The bedway is perfectly parallel to my headstock and tailstock, so that means everything's in line now. So I have a nice reference point. I know if I want to do something straight, I've got something straight. If I want to do a curve, I can see the curve by lining this up straight. So it gives me a better reference. Okay. When I turn high speed. Sharp tools. Try not to be too aggressive when you're cutting, even though your tools are sharp. Otherwise you're trying to force the tool through it. Let the tool cut. 472 is the diameter I want to achieve. I like to go 10 thou under. A little bit to go there. Quite a bit to go there. I like to take it down with a skew to get it nice and smooth. About 12 thou under size. I like that. I am going to sand, excuse me, I am going to sand this. I don't normally sand these, but I don't like the look of the resin. A little bit of tearing, what I call tearing anyway. So I'll just clean it up with a bit of sandpaper. Now we're ready to put a finish on this. So the blank is 10 thou undersize on the ends. I got a nice smooth curve. As I put my CA on, I'm going to just follow that curve as I go around over it. Nice smooth sweeps. I'm going to build it back up till it's about 10 thou oversize, and then we'll turn it back down. Same thing, about 500 RPM. We're putting the CA on. I just put a little drop on a piece of wax paper, and I just want to wet this, and just like a squeegee, take it across nice and slow, get the blank wet, and I let it dry on its own. It's a nice thin layer, so it's not going to take very long to dry. The CA on the bushings is already dry. So from here on in, before I put each layer of CA on, I'm just going to give it a spritz of some CA, and it's thick CA glue that I use. Sorry, a spritz of accelerator, and it's a thick CA that I'm putting on here. A little drop, same thing, like a squeegee. Now I can tell when it's dry because it'll haze over, almost like the water on a windshield on a cold morning. At least for those of us that get the luxury of having that experience. If you don't let that CA harden on its own, it'll just lead to problems. You'll end up with a crust. You put your next layer of CA on, and you get little pinholes come up through, and when you go and turn it or sand it back down, they'll show up as little white dots. And the white haze that you get on sometimes is from putting too much CA on, and it's called chloresis. It doesn't affect the integrity, but it just looks like crap. Once you get a little bit of buildup on the wax paper, I just clean it off. Give myself a fresh start. About 5 thou over from what I want to be. About 10 thou there. So we're close. I wasn't counting the passes. I think we're about 5 or 6. Better off to put a little extra CA on than not enough. If you get any valleys or ridges, actually the valleys are that's what you'll see when you turn it. And you'll have to put more CA back on again. I don't sand it to the finished size. I rather turn it. If you try and sand it back to the finished size, you're gonna, whatever unevenness you have on the blank, you're just gonna mimic that as you sand back down. $10 thou over, almost 20 thou. So we're good to go. Now I have a good reference. I'm going to sharpen my tool first. Be careful how much you take off the crown, because if you get a little carried away, you'll see a nice dull spot. Better to find it now than after you start sanding with the micro mesh. And you look for little shiny spots. I see one right here. And I still have to take more down. Before I do though, I want to measure, make sure I've got some meat on here. I still got 8 thou to go. Okay, it's gone. Measure it again. Another 3 thou to go. Another 5 thou to go. Nice and smooth, no bumps. About a thou, couple thou there. Ooh, real close. Right on. So the nice thing is, this has got a taper. We're a little, just a shade under. If I sand just a little extra on that end, it'll change in size and come up to what I want. I'm only talking a thou. So there we are, turned. Nice beautiful finish on it. No sanding required other than micro mesh. I'll go straight to my micro mesh now. Wet sand. Start at 1500, go all the way to 12,000 on high speed. Sorry, before I even begin, I just do one lengthwise sand with the 1500 grit in case there's any little lines from the tool. So I'll make sure they're gone. Looks fairly good. Alright, we'll just work our way up to 12,000. Like this nice and wet. When doing it wet, you get a bit of water in here. You create a wedge effect. The water provides lubrication, it helps cool, and it also helps keep the sandpaper clean, or the micro mesh clean. Another good habit to get into is just clean that off before each pass of sanding. Just removes any little bit of grit that might be there. I like to use fresh water all the time. I might do 3 pens before I change the water. Cold water, doesn't have to be hot. Tap water, whatever. Just watch the ends. No dust to worry about. I'm going to go right to my Hut's plastic polish. That's all I use. Just going to take a quick look, make sure I got no hazy spots where I've gone through the CA finish. And I just use the glare from the light. I just watch it along the top edge of the blank. That's your horizon. At least that's what I call it, my horizon. Looks good. Let's polish it. Go from the middle out one end, right in the middle, go to the other end. Nice and shiny. So now to get it off, I just go in with my little skew. My bushings have a little chamfer at the edges. Doesn't harm them. I measure my sizes anyway. This lets me basically part it off. Nice square edge. Remember, we got a bit of paste wax on there still, on the ends. Look at that. Slick. So now we need to clean the ends up. There's no tear out from the glue. We've taken that all away. Our trusty old transfer punch in here. A little sanding piece. Clean that up. High speed. Clean. Now we just take our piece, lightly sand it. Nice and square. Repeat the process. The other end. That's a nice clean edge. No burrs. Square. Last thing I do is take that deburring tool and just clean it up. It just breaks that sharp edge. Makes everything a lot easier when you put your pen blanks together on your pens. And the only other thing is to clean the inside out. Just roll a bit of paper up. The other option, bottle brush, put it in, give it a turn, pull it out. There, pen blank's finished. The only other thing I might do to this is put my Beal buffing system in the lathe and just run over it with carnauba wax. But for the most part it really doesn't need it as a finished pen blank. So let's assemble that. Everybody's lathe, they didn't tell you this when you bought your lathe, but your lathe comes with a pen press. You just have to modify it a little bit. Get a number 2 Morris taper, if that's what your Morris taper is. A blank. A little bit of Delrin, turn it, made a little plug, shove it in, and the tailstock, same thing again, right, piece of Delrin. Fit it in the end of a number 2 Morris taper blank. Morris taper blanks are, I think, Busy Bee in Canada, they're about $9 a piece. So say you got $20, bit of Delrin, doesn't cost that much. Say $30. What's a pen press worth? 60, 50, 60 bucks, taxes, maybe more. What a waste of money. And this way it's accurate, and it doesn't matter the size of pen. Make sure your parts aren't damaged before you get too far into this. Make sure it works like a charm. Now the easy part. Sometimes can be the hard part. I like to show off the wood, the resin's nice. Start it. Go to your pen press.
Beautiful. Beautiful fit. There you go. Beautiful pen, nice finish. And that's the low-end Sierra kit too. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Thanks for watching.